Scott Wilson, president of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm good. I have a Second Amendment question. Sure. If you could only support one of two bills, and you had two bills put forth before you, one of them was a capacity limitation for magazines for 15 rounds, and the other one was a limitation for 5 rounds. Which would you choose?
5 or 15 rounds.
If you had to choose one of the other bills.
I guess we don't look at bills like that, so I don't sort of make decisions on one or the other. We have one bill, and we have to choose to support it or not. So I think the limitation that we used to have, which was 10 rounds, seemed to work when it was in place, and so that's what I support.
So you think that 10 rounds would be enough for somebody to defend themselves in their home from home invaders during the middle of the night?
I do.
You really do believe that?
I do.
Okay, why then are the hit rates 15 to 20% from professional police officers during violent attacks?
So I don't know, you show me the statistics that you have. I'd be happy to.
I'll be happy to send them to your office.
What do you think? Do you think there should be any limitation?
There was an officers involved shooting up in Norwich, Connecticut last week, where there were 40-something rounds shot. 6 of them hit the person. So these are supposedly trained professionals. So I don't think it's the place of the government to determine what an individual person's best ability is to protect themselves and their family, especially in the middle of the night during a home invasion. We're out walking around on the streets like we had here 2 years ago. We had an individual that was attacked and stabbed to death by 6 individuals.
Right.
Now, this person did not choose to exercise his Second Amendment rights. But had that person been able to exercise those rights, it is very doubtful that anything less than 15 rounds would have been sufficient.
So it should be up to the individual to choose what weapon that they use or what capacity magazine. That should be up to them.
Even under the Heller decision. Now, a lot of what's been trotted out lately under the Heller decision is leaves out the exception for guns of common use. That was decided by the state.
I'm not asking this adversarial. I'm just sort of trying to figure out where you stand on this. Do you support any limitation on firearms from the government, or do you think that the line is just being drawn wrong at a certain number of rounds? Like, for instance, automatic weapons. Would you support the ban on automatic weapons?
Automatic weapons is not what is at the issue now. Automatic weapons have been heavily regulated.
But you agree with that? So you agree with that?
Do I believe that people should be able to have the right to have automatic weapons?
Yeah.
Again, that's not what we're debating here today. We're debating about
but I'm not asking whether you support it or not.
We're talking about the laws that are being put forth right now are semi-automatic weapons, not fully automatic.
You're not willing
weapons.
to answer that question now?
Well, you're not really willing to answer the question of anything above 10 rounds would be sufficient either.
Well, no, I told you what I believe. I believe that 10 rounds are sufficient.
Right.
I told you what I believe.
As far as fully automatic weapons, I have.
Do you think they're protected under the Second Amendment? Do you think fully automatic weapons are protected under the Second Amendment?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Sure. Certainly under the prefatory clause, absolutely. I believe that individuals that pass the background checks that are not federally prohibited from possessing firearms should be able to exercise their rights.
There's certain people that believe that the prefatory clause essentially means that the citizenry should have access to the exact same level of military might that the government does. That in order to protect yourselves against the government, that you have to have access to the same level of firepower that the government does. So do you believe that there's any limitation on weaponry that can be owned by private citizens?
Explosive devices are separately regulated. I do believe that semi-automatic weapons should easily be accessible by those that want to exercise.
Second Amendment
rights.
is a protection for firearms, not for other types of military.
That's
weapons.
correct.
No, it's just good to know.